So till now, we have talked about the basics of biological molecules. What is the biochemistry of our body? Why are they known as the building blocks of life? What are monomers, polymers, and macromolecules and polymers, monomers combined together to make polymers? And then we discussed a whole table as well, that what are carbohydrates made up of, what are lipids made up of, protein made up of, amino acid and everything. Now we are going to do all three of these in detail. The first one we are going to study today are carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are found in three forms: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Can you give me an example of monosaccharide?
Glucose,
Disaccharide?
sucrose,
Polysaccharide?
glycogen.
Amazing. All carbohydrates contain the elements carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, and the hydrate part of the name refers to water. The hydrogen and oxygen atoms are present in the ratio of 2:1 as in water, and the general formula for a carbohydrate can be written as CxH2OY. Carbohydrates are divided into three main groups: monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. And the word saccharide means a sugar or a sweet substance. Monosaccharides are sugars, and sugars dissolve easily in water to form sweet tasting solutions. Monosaccharide consists of a single sugar molecule. So mono का मतलब है single sugar. Mono means one saccharide meaning sugar, and they have the general formula of CH2ON. The main types of monosaccharides, when classified according to the number of carbon atoms, we have trioses. Trioses are the 3-carbon monosaccharide. Then we have pentoses, which are the 5-carbon monosaccharide, which include ribose and deoxyribose, which are present in RNA and DNA. Then we have hexoses, which is the third type of monosaccharide. Hexoses क्या है? 6-carbon molecule. And we are going to studying hexoses. Hexoses are the ones that are very important to your syllabus. We are going to study 3 hexoses: glucose, fructose, galactose, and we are going to study 2 common pentoses, ribose and deoxyribose. Ribose is the one that makes up the RNA, and deoxyribose is the one that makes up the DNA. Got it?
Yeah.
What is meant by molecular formula? Molecular formula tells you the actual number of atoms in any molecule. For example, glucose's molecule formula is C6H12O6, meaning that in glucose there are 6 carbon atoms, 12 hydrogen atoms, and 6 oxygen atoms in the molecule. It is also useful to show the arrangement of the atoms using a diagram known as a structural formula. And we can see the structure formula of glucose as it is a hexose. So hexoses के अंदर we have 3 types. First one is glucose, then we have galactose, and then we have fructose. This is what glucose looks like. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon, and when we join it into a ring, it is gonna look something like this. ठीक है? When we join it as a ring, this is the first carbon, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and we have 1 oxygen as well. All carbohydrates contain carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And one important aspect of the structure of pentoses and hexoses is that the chain of carbon atoms is long enough to close upon itself to form a more stable ring. So we call these single ring structure. That is why glucose is known as a monosaccharide. So we are not going to study them as a branch chain. This branch chain is more of an unstable form. So that is why it joins itself to form a ringed structure. So ring structure जब ये बनाता है, then it has no more double bonds. Why? Because this carbon joins over here to form a ring with this oxygen. So this is what the structure of glucose looks like. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Now glucose has 2 types. One of them is known as alpha glucose and the other one is known as beta glucose. Can you see any difference between alpha glucose and beta glucose structure? Tell me.
Uh,
Look very carefully.
the last of which is upward.
The carbon number 1, OH, is above the plane in beta glucose, whereas in alpha glucose, carbon number 1, OH, is below the plane. Got it?
Yeah.
Exactly. ठीक है? So in alpha glucose, it's below the plane. In beta glucose, it's above the plane. So this is known as the alpha glucose and this is known as beta glucose. And this is very, very important and you have to be very attentive. These are all new concepts. And if you write down a skeletal formula, skeletal formula has no carbons. We do not show the carbons in a skeletal formula. So this is how you make the skeletal formula as well. But just keep remembering this one. Now the ring therefore contains oxygen and carbon atom number 6 is not part of the ring. You will see from figure 2.4 that the hydroxyl group on carbon atom 1 may be above or below the plane of the ring. The form of glucose where it is below the ring is known as alpha glucose and the form where it is above the ring is known as beta glucose. Two forms of the same chemical are known as isomers and the extra variety provided by the existence of alpha and beta isomers have very important biological consequences as you will see in the structures of starch, glycogen and cellulose as well. Now the different polysaccharides form, you have to be very carefully and remember this alpha and beta glucose because these are just not isomers. These are isomers with very, very important role in the formation of the disaccharides and polysaccharides. So what do you think is the function of monosaccharides in living organism? If I ask you the function of glucose, what is it?
Like used in respiration to produce energy.
Exactly. Monosaccharides have two major functions. The first one that they are commonly used as a source of energy in respiration. And this is why due to the large number of carbon-hydrogen bonds, actually the source of energy comes by breaking these carbon-hydrogen bonds that are there in the glucose. These bonds can be broken down to release a lot of energy which is transferred to help make ATP, which is known as adenosine triphosphate, from ADP plus phosphate during the process of respiration. The most important monosaccharide in energy metabolism is glucose. And secondly, monosaccharides are important as building blocks for larger molecules. For example, glucose is used to make the polysaccharides starch, glycogen, and cellulose, whereas ribose is a pentose sugar. It's used to make RNA. Then it also is used to make ATP. Then deoxyribose is also a pentose sugar. It is used to make DNA. So till now, is everything clear that what are the different types of monosaccharides? Let me give you a summary over here. Monosaccharides come in three types: trioses, pentoses, hexoses. Pentoses, give me two examples of pentoses.
Ribose and deoxyribose.
Good job. And give me the three examples of hexoses.
Uh, I can't remember.
Glucose.
Monosaccharide.
This classification is important. Listen again. Monosaccharides exist as trioses, pentoses, hexoses. Trioses means what? The 3 carbon compounds. Pentoses means 5 carbon compounds. Hexoses means 6 carbon compound. We are not going to study trioses. Pentoses, 5 carbon compound, there are two examples: ribose and deoxyribose. And where is this ribose found? RNA. Where is deoxyribose found? DNA. Then we have hexoses. Hexoses has 3 examples: glucose, fructose, and galactose.
Oh, galactose.
Memorize it right now. Done?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Till now only have studied this. And what is the function of glucose? We have also studied to provide energy. How does a glucose molecule provide energy?
It's used in respiration.
Okay. What happens in respiration that it releases energy?
It's broken down.
What is broken down?
Glucose.
You're giving me step-by-step answers. Okay. It provides energy. It provides energy in respiration, correct? By breaking down. But what actually gets broken down?
Oh, okay.
What? Carbon hydrogen bonds. You see these? Broken down, broken down, broken down, broken down, broken down. Clear? Yeah, when these
Yeah.
break down, they are exothermic. They are going to release energy. ठीक है? Let me show you something about monosaccharide. Let's get it clear, and only then we are going to start with disaccharides. No hurry. It will be done easily. Okay. Monosaccharides.
Hi and welcome back to Food Science Lessons. By the end of this video, you should be able to describe what's meant by a monosaccharide and give examples. You should then be able to describe the structure of glucose. In this video, we're going to start looking at a group of biological molecules called carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates are extremely important in biology, and in fact, carbohydrates are a major part of the human diet. For example, we find sugars such as sucrose in cakes and biscuits, and we find starch in foods such as pasta and rice. Both sugars and starch are examples of carbohydrates. I'm showing you here the structure of the sugar glucose. As you can see, glucose has a ring shape. The formula of glucose is C6H12O6. All carbohydrates, including glucose, contain only the elements carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Glucose contains 6 carbon atoms, and we can see these here. Now, sugars with 6 carbon atoms are called hexose sugars, and you need to learn that word. As you can see, the structure of glucose is fairly complicated, so scientists usually draw this in a simpler form, which I'm showing you here. In this diagram, we're not showing the carbon atoms or most of the oxygen and hydrogen atoms. In the exam, you could be asked to draw this structure of glucose, so you do need to learn it. Now, glucose is a single sugar molecule. Scientists call single sugar molecules monosaccharides. Mono means one and saccharide means sugar. There are a number of different monosaccharides, for example glucose, galactose and fructose, and you need to learn those examples. Coming up, we're going to look at a key property of monosaccharides and what is meant by a pentose monosaccharide. Okay, now one key feature of monosaccharides is that they're soluble in water, and if we look again at the full structure of glucose, we can see why. Monosaccharides, including glucose, have a large number of OH groups. Scientists call OH groups hydroxyl groups. Hydroxyl groups can form hydrogen bonds with water molecules, and because of this, monosaccharides are soluble in water. Scientists call molecules like this hydrophilic. Hydrophilic means water-loving, and hydrophilic molecules all dissolve in water. Now, we've already seen that glucose is a hexose monosaccharide, as it contains 6 carbon atoms. However, some monosaccharides contain 5 carbon atoms, and these are called pentose monosaccharides. A good example is ribose, and I'm showing you the simplified structure of ribose here. If you're following the OCR or Edexcel specs, then you need to learn the structure of ribose. Now, monosaccharides can be chemically joined to form larger carbohydrates. Scientists call these disaccharides and polysaccharides, and we'll be starting to look at those in the next video.
All right, so are monosaccharides clear?
Yeah.
What are disaccharides? What is meant by, if you have to explain it?
Two monosaccharides together.
Okay, good. They form a disaccharide. Now you are going to explain me by looking at the diagram. Let's see if you can do it or not. Disaccharides, like monosaccharides, are sugars. They are formed by 2 monosaccharides joining together, and di means 2. The 3 most common disaccharides are, number 1 is maltose, which is formed from glucose and glucose. Second one is sucrose, which is formed from glucose and fructose. And the third one is lactose, which is formed from glucose and galactose. I'm going to give you all these things, the basic ones, the names of monosaccharide, the types of monosaccharide, types of hexoses, types of pentoses, where are they found, how is it used in energy, what are the different disaccharides. Okay, you have 3 disaccharides, and how are these disaccharides made? Now, first one, maltose is made from what?
Glucose and glucose.
Sucrose,
Glucose and fructose.
lactose.
Glucose and galactose.
Okay, so glucose is common in all of them, but The other one is different. ठीक है, maltose is glucose, लेकिन glucose है. Sucrose, glucose again common, but it's made with fructose. And lactose में again glucose is common, but it's joined with galactose. So these are the three hexoses which are like interconnecting with each other and forming three combinations. Now we have two alpha glucose molecules over here. You can see them. ठीक है, and both of them are alpha glucose. How do I know that?
Because the carbon one is like the OH is connected downward.
Good. In both of the carbon one, the OH is below the plane. ठीक है. So now, how are these two alpha glucose molecules bind together? You have seen this type of reaction before. Can you tell me what is happening over here?
Condensation reaction.
Good. Simple as that. Exactly. So the first carbon's OH gives a hydrogen, and the other alpha glucose's fourth carbon gives the whole OH. And this is where the water is lost, and this leads to the formation of a glycosidic bond. This molecule is known as maltose. Clear?
Yeah.
Good. And this is the most favorite question of examiner. Now, if you want to go reverse, break down, you are going to add water. And adding water is known as hydrolysis. And it's going to give you, again, you're going to break down maltose to give you two alpha glucose molecules. So we call this bond as 1,4 glycosidic bond. Why am I calling it 1,4 glycosidic bond?
Because it's bonded to carbon 1 and carbon 4.
Amazing, man. Right. Next, we have alpha glucose plus beta fructose. ठीक है? I know all these structures are quite tough, and whenever you want me to stop, I'll stop and we're going to revise all of this because I know everything is new. ठीक है? This is where the AS Bio's new concept starts. So we're going to write these all down as well today, ताकि you can remember, because we're not having classes the next 1 week now. You have to memorize all of this as well side by side. You don't have to remember the structure of beta fructose, but you should know that how a glycosidic bond is formed. This is what a structure of beta fructose looks like. Again, no need to memorize. And all you have to remember is one thing, that again, a glycosidic bond is formed, but that glycosidic bond is known as 1,2 linkage, 1,2 glycosidic bond linkage. Clear?
Yeah.
And glucose, galactose forming lactose, you don't even have to study that. Now, what do we know about these? Sucrose ke baare mein, what do we know about sucrose? You have studied in IGCSE that sucrose is found in plants. Cell sap hota hai na, in xylem and phloem ke andar hota hai. Phloem ke andar you always have these sucrose sugar. Now, sucrose is for the transporting sugar in plant, and sugars are commonly bought in shops. Lactose is the sugar found in milk and is therefore an important constituent of the diet of young mammals. The process of joining two monosaccharides is an example of condensation reaction. Monomers, polymers, and macromolecules, or reverse process kya hoga? Splitting a disaccharide into two monomers. So one of them is known as condensation, and the reverse process is known as a hydrolysis reaction. Notice that the fructose has a different ring structure from glucose, and you don't need to memorize the structure of fructose. What you do need to memorize is the structure of alpha glucose, favorite question of examiner, and sometimes beta glucose as well, that we are going to study in polysaccharides. You will come to know that glycogen is formed from alpha glucose, whereas cellulose is formed from beta glucose. So that comes in polysaccharides. Leave it for now. For each condensation reaction, two hydroxyl groups line up alongside each other. One combines with a hydrogen atom from the other to form a water molecule, and this allows an oxygen bridge to form between the two molecules, holding them together. So this oxygen bridge is known as a glycosidic bond. Got it?
Yeah.
So formation of a disaccharide from two monosaccharides by condensation. Maltose is formed from two alpha glucose molecule, and this can be repeated many times to form a polysaccharide such as glycogen that we'll do next week. Note that the example of the glycosidic bond is formed between 1 and 4, एंड सुक्रोज में अल्फा ग्लूकोज और फ्रुक्टोज जो ज्वाइन करते हैं वो 1,2 ग्लाइकोसिडिक लिंकेज फॉर्म करते हैं. This bridge is known as glycosidic bond. In theory, any two OH groups have to line up together. OH group of the first molecule, OH group of the second molecule. And how is a glycosidic bond formed? Like this. So this was carbon number 1's OH, this was carbon number 4's OH of the other molecule. This is what represents the glycosidic bond. There are large number of possible disaccharides, and the shape of the enzyme controlling the reaction determines which OH group comes alongside each other. Only a few of the possible disaccharides are common in nature, and the addition of water and hydrolysis takes place during digestion of disaccharides. When you eat, okay, what happens in our mouth? You have studied in IGCSE the mechanical digestion. Can you tell me what is happening in our mouth?
Like the food broken down to maltose, I think.
Exactly. Which enzyme was responsible for that? Remember amylase, the salivary glands?
Yeah.
That's the same thing that we are studying. That is also kind of hydrolysis. Why? Addition of water. Digestion is defined as what? Breaking down large molecules into smaller ones so they can be easily digested and excreted from the body or absorbed inside the body as well. So digestion of disaccharides and polysaccharides. Can you give me an example in terms of digestion and nutrition? Where and how are polysaccharides digested? Any example in our body?
Polysaccharides are like glycogen.
Good. Exactly. Glycogen can be converted into glucose. Okay, and
Oh, like the
let's
pancreas.
exactly. Now,
Glucagon.
that is a topic in your second year of A levels, A2. In A2, I was teaching a student yesterday that the people who have sugar, diabetes, what happens in their body? Glucose has to be readily converted into glycogen to lower down the sugar levels. But when your sugar level is low, glycogen is converted to glucose in your body. So this interreversible change keeps happening. Mono to poly, poly to mono. Got it?
Yeah.
Define glycosidic bond. 1 mark examiner asks this question. It is a carbon-oxygen-carbon link between two sugar molecules formed by condensation reaction, and it is a covalent bond. Got it?
Yeah.
Good. Good job. Is everything clear till now? You sure?
Yeah.
Hi and welcome back to Free Science Lessons. By the end of this video, you should be able to describe the difference between alpha and beta glucose. In the last video, we started looking at monosaccharides. We saw that glucose is a monosaccharide with the formula C6H12O6. And I'm showing you this simplified structure of glucose here. And remember that you do need to learn this structure. As we saw, because glucose has got 6 carbon atoms, scientists say that glucose is a hexose monosaccharide. Now, one key idea you need to understand is that there are 2 forms of glucose. These 2 different forms are called isomers of glucose, and I'm showing you them here. Now, in order to understand this, we need to number the carbon atoms. The rightmost carbon atom is number 1. In both isomers of glucose, carbon 1 is bonded to a hydrogen atom, which we can see here, and also to an OH group, which I'm showing you here. And remember that scientists call an OH group a hydroxyl group. Now, the key difference between the 2 isomers of glucose is the position of the hydroxyl group on carbon 1. If the carbon 1 hydroxyl points below the ring, then we call this isomer alpha glucose. And if the carbon 1 hydroxyl points above the ring, then we call this isomer beta glucose. Now, that can be quite difficult to understand, so let's take a closer look at that. I'm showing you alpha glucose here, and I'm trying to represent the molecule in 3 dimensions. As you can see, I'm showing the main ring of the glucose molecule as flat. In reality, the ring is not completely flat, but this helps to understand it. Now I'm showing you the plane of the ring. Now the key point to get is that in alpha glucose, the hydroxyl group on carbon 1 points below the plane of the ring. I'm showing you beta glucose here. As you can see, in beta glucose, the hydroxyl group on carbon 1 points above the plane of the ring. Now, it's really important that you learn the difference between the two isomers of glucose, and we're going to see these again in later videos. In the next video, we're going to look at how disaccharides are produced from.
So this is the main difference between alpha glucose and the beta glucose as well. Is the difference clear?
Yeah.
Good. So alpha glucose and beta glucose, can you tell me the main difference in this structure again?
The OH on carbon 1 in alpha is below the plane and in beta it's above the plane.
Epic. Good job. And what are the three names of the disaccharides that we have studied?
Maltose, lactose, and sucrose.
Good job. Good job.
Hi and welcome back to Free Science Lessons. By the end of this video, you should be able to describe how disaccharides are formed from monosaccharides. In the last video, we looked at the structure of the monosaccharide glucose. We saw that there are two forms or isomers of glucose, and these differ in the position of the hydroxyl group on carbon 1. In alpha glucose, the carbon 1 hydroxyl points below the plane of the ring, whereas in beta glucose, the carbon 1 hydroxyl points above the plane of the ring. So in this video, we're going to look at disaccharides. I'm showing you here two molecules of alpha glucose. Now, these two glucose molecules can react together, and when they do, they form a disaccharide, and I'm showing you that here. So disaccharides form when two monosaccharides chemically react together. Now, there are a couple of really important points about this reaction. Firstly, when we react together two alpha glucose molecules, the disaccharide we make is called maltose, and you need to learn that. Secondly, when we make a disaccharide, we also produce a molecule of water. The water molecule is formed from a hydrogen atom from one of the monosaccharides and a hydroxyl group from the other, and we can see these here. Now, when a reaction forms a water molecule like this, scientists call that a condensation reaction, and you'll be seeing several examples of condensation reactions in later videos. Coming up, we're going to look at what is meant by a glycosidic bond and a hydrolysis reaction. Okay, so we've already seen that two molecules of alpha glucose can react to form the disaccharide maltose. As you can see, in this reaction, we formed a new chemical bond between the two molecules of alpha glucose. This type of bond is called a glycosidic bond, and I'm showing you that here. You'll be seeing glycosidic bonds again when we look at polysaccharides. Now, if I number the carbon atoms, we can see that this glycosidic bond is between carbon 1 on one alpha glucose and carbon 4 on the other. So we call this a 1,4 glycosidic bond. Now, I would recommend that you learn this whole diagram, as you could be asked to draw it in your exam. So as we've seen, disaccharides are formed in a condensation reaction, and a molecule of water is produced. Now, if we add water to a disaccharide, we can break the glycosidic bond. This converts the disaccharide back to the original monosaccharides, and this is called a hydrolysis reaction. In cells, this reaction is normally carried out by enzymes. Now, as well as maltose, there are two other disaccharides that you need to learn. The disaccharide sucrose is formed from the monosaccharides glucose and fructose, and the disaccharide lactose is formed from the monosaccharides glucose and galactose. Okay, in the next video, we're going to start looking at polysaccharides.
All right. Are the disaccharides clear as well?
Yeah.
All right. We won't be starting polysaccharides today. In the group, I have just written down 15 questions. Have you received them?
Yeah.
And when can I get all these 15? If you start now. They're not that big. Okay? Just keep in mind, these questions are like your notes because I have covered each and everything in these questions that we have done today. Plus, these are the common questions in MCQs and in your exam. So these questions, solve them very neatly in your notebook or solve them handwritten, okay, in your notebook because these are your notes. Clear? Have you got them?
Yeah.
Start right now. Don't leave the class.
Okay.
This will have a good revision of your monosaccharides and disaccharides and memorize whatever you are writing as well. Use the book. You can use the book, obviously.
Okay.
Rejoin the second link if this one ends. Got it?
Okay.
Or don't if you don't have any questions. Okay, you can if you have any. Okay, good.
Okay.